What I love about that fight is when you have a young guy who's up and coming and looks good, even if there are little bumps along the way, and it feels like it is his destiny to do something.
What we all have to realize is what Jake is trying to compare himself to, or at least draw a comparison with, and his skills are not the reality of his skills, at least not that we've seen. So even if Jake is right about what you can do to mitigate what AJ does well, I don't think that he's right that he's the one that can do that.
Of course, you know, he's gonna defeat you, but I don't believe he can land those punches. And he lands them on the bigger, slower guys who are sitting right in front of him. Everyone's like, did you see Francis Ngannou, what he did to Francis Ngannou? It's like the guy's feet stuck in mud. He's just sitting there, didn't do anything.
Max Kellerman predicts that the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight will bring real drama and excitement. He explains that Paul is stepping in with a strong desire to prove himself to the world and show he is serious about boxing. At the same time, Joshua has already built his legacy and has nothing left to prove. Because of these contrasting motivations, Max believes this matchup is unpredictable and says anything can happen on fight night.
Competition. Throw him in there, may the best man win, and when the dust settles and the two guys are standing...
Max Kellerman further says that if Jake truly wants to be taken seriously as a fighter, he must beat Anthony Joshua. According to Max, this is the moment where Jake has to prove that his ambitions in boxing are real. He highlights that Jake is clearly determined to build a future in the sport and shows genuine passion for it. This fight, in Max's view, is the ultimate test of Jake's commitment.
The boxing world may see your future.
As Max Kellerman says, Anthony Joshua has earned his full respect for what he has achieved in boxing. However, he points out that the key factor working in Jake Paul's favor is youth. Because of this, Max believes Joshua cannot take anything lightly. He says AJ must bring his full strength, energy, and focus into the ring. To win, Joshua has to be the very best version of himself on fight night.
I like that. You're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering the counter, you're going to lose that fight. Joshua has to impose his size, strength, youth, go to the body. He has to be willing to...
Max Kellerman notices Anthony Joshua's previous fights. He points out that Joshua has not performed at his best in some of them. Because of this, Max believes Joshua must be at his absolute peak on the night of the fight. He explains that as a heavyweight, AJ needs to show more power and authority. With Joshua not being very active recently, this performance becomes even more important.
Joshua, at his best, on his best night, was a great heavyweight, and so it's in there.
Wade, the analyst, breaks down the fight and says that Anthony Joshua carrying 260 pounds for a knockout is insane, but it shows just how much power AJ brings. He's even more surprised by Jake Paul claiming he's more skilled than Joshua. Wade notes that while Jake is confident, his past fights don't back it up. Against Chavez Jr., he looks sharp at times but never displayed the kind of technique or evolution that AJ has shown over his career. Wade emphasizes that Joshua's experience, footwork, and ring IQ put him on a different level, and Jake's basics won't be enough to match it.
Put him on a different level, and Jake's basics won't be enough to match it.
He says that his skills are better than AJ. And I just don't know where the evidence of that is. Like, I understand Jake is confident in himself, but point to me a fight where Jake showed better skill. I don't see it. And again, Jake is always telling us how he never gets to show the skills. He never gets to show the skills. He just went through a full fight with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and nothing in that fight made me go, wow, he's more skillful than Anthony Joshua. Even when you go back and look at the Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk 2 fight, AJ showed more skill in that fight than he had in a loss. I understand that, but then he had in a lot of his other heavyweight fights. That showed evolution. That showed him dedicated to the sweet science. So again, Jake's talking out of his ass here, at least from what we've seen. If he's gotten into camp and after the Mike Tyson fight and after the Chavez Jr. fight and he's turned into a different beast, then we'll see that. But nothing in his previous repertoire of fights shows me that he's better skill for skill than Anthony Joshua. Not even better, you know, size, whatever, but skill for skill. I haven't seen anything that's much different than AJ. He calls AJ a basic fighter. I haven't seen Jake do anything but the basics, like catch counters, combination punches at times, but he still sticks with the basics, and he gets by on his power and his size. It's almost like Jake is saying the things that people say about him.
Well, it sounds like he's happy that you're coming in 245. I also was going to bring that up, but we'll talk about it now, that you said you didn't believe he had a bunch of skills and that you would kick his ass, and that this was a fight that you basically wanted. Not recently, you've been saying it for a minute. What about his skills tells you that you're a better skill fighter than him?
Good question, Cam.
Yeah, he's
He's a
just
fucking Olympic gold medalist, though.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time, and he's great. And if you get caught with that one punch, or obviously he has a lot of power punches. If you get caught, of course, he's gonna defeat you. But I don't believe he can land those punches, and he lands them on the bigger, slower guys who are sitting right in front of him. Everyone's like, "Did you see Francis Ngannou? What he did to Francis Ngannou?" It's like the guy's feet stuck in mud. He's just sitting there, didn't do anything, and just got fucking nailed with a big ass shot. So yeah, if I get hit with that shot, I'm screwed. But I don't believe he's gonna hit me with those shots.
It's in theory a good idea to do what Jake is saying, but in practice, it's completely different than what Jake thinks. Like, again, it's only 8 rounds, so I don't think that Jake is going to completely gas, but him being on his feet and moving versus a guy like Nate Diaz or a guy like Tommy Fury, who both did pressure him and did, and even Anderson Silva pressured him and made him, get on his bike a little bit. That's different than the pressure and the weight and the size of Anthony Joshua bearing down on you for 8 rounds, because Joshua's going to take forward steps the entire fight. He's going to pressure what he is, what he's done to Usyk. And if you did want to make a comparison there, like, yeah, obviously what AJ did to Francis is not going to be the same here, because Francis wanted to engage in that back and forth. Francis is also a big-time power puncher, just didn't have the skills to keep up. But you look at what AJ did, and it was a very timid fight, I will say, in the Ruiz second fight, but he won that fight exclusively with his jab. If AJ wants to win this fight with his jab, he could. Jake is banking on the fact that AJ's going to be that pressure fighter.
Joey Knight.
Joey Knight examines matchups by looking beyond hype, focusing on experience, technical ability, and ring IQ. In discussing Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul, Knight points out that AJ, at around 245 pounds, is a formidable force. He recalls Joshua's victories over top heavyweights. Knight emphasizes that Jake Paul gains no real advantage against AJ at that weight. He also stresses the importance of proper coaching and skill development, suggesting that analyzing Jake Paul is almost pointless given the gap in experience.
That way. I actually think that when AJ's been heavier, he's been easier to hit. So if the AJ that fought Andy Ruiz the second time around goes in there and gets in against Jake Paul, it's going to be a long night for Jake Paul. And by the way, around 245 pounds, he went the distance twice with Alexander Usyk in relatively close fights. He chinned Pulev, beat Ruiz, chinned Povetkin, chinned Brazil, chinned Martin, chinned Dillian White. In fact, he chinned more or less fucking everyone in and around that weight, all the way up until he fought Joseph Parker. Yeah, having AJ at 245 pounds serves Jake no purpose. There's no advantage to be gained there whatsoever.
We got
As you should. You definitely needed to change coaches.
And we got skills as well.
You definitely needed to change coaches, so I'm glad.
Now, this is the first time that I'm starting to try and analyse Jake Paul here, but for me, I kind of think it's pointless. Like, I fight, and I understand that I'm not fighting anywhere near the scale of Jake Paul. I'm nowhere near the size of Jake Paul. But Jake Paul going in with AJ would be like me going in with a world-level light heavyweight or something like that. And if I was sat across the room from them and having to tell them how I'd beat them, I'd probably be terrified too. But assuming he's not, and we actually just judge his body language, you can see that in this clip of him, he doesn't look that comfortable. He's not really making eye contact with Anthony Joshua, at least not after he says what he's got to say. And does this show that he isn't as confident in the words that he's speaking? Who knows? All I will say is, if you look at this moment where he's actually talking to AJ about their fight, and then you compare it to this next clip where they're having a conversation about something they did together outside of boxing, I think you'll probably see a big difference.
We got
As you should. You definitely needed to change coaches.
Adid Oladipo is a boxing analyst who breaks down fights by weighing both hype and real performance, giving context to a fighter's skills and past bouts. He argues that while some think Jake Paul could trouble Anthony Joshua, it's important to remember the scale of AJ's power and experience. By fight night, Joshua is expected to be around 255 pounds, carrying destructive power, and Oladipo emphasizes he is far from done, even after a knockdown from Du Bois. While Jake has shown improvement and looks impressive in training clips, Oladipo cautions that flashy workouts don't necessarily translate to success against a seasoned heavyweight like Joshua, who remains a top-tier fighter when focused.
The top-tier fighter when focused.
Could cause AJ some problems. We're like, what are we doing? Like, let's understand what we're talking about here. We're talking about Anthony Joshua. And I know some people like to shit on AJ, like he's done, he's chinny. We're still talking about a 255 pound, by the time fight night rolls around, heavyweight with destructive power, who's not done, who's not chinny. Yes, he got hit by Dubois and got knocked down. I mean, Dubois could knock down a lot of heavyweights. For me, AJ is still, when his mind's right, a top 10 heavyweight. Against, in Jake Paul, someone that I would say, I mean, he's looked good in those clips, right? I'll give him that. He looks good on the heavy bag as well. I'll give him that. But I've seen area level guys fucking tear up heavy bags. You know what I mean? I've seen guys that are 2-0 fucking look great on heavy bags. So I'm not fooled by many with that clip. Although I will say Jake does look really good, especially when you consider where Jake's come from. But Jake, I don't even know if Jake's an area level fighter. And if he were, he would be an area level cruiserweight, which again, I don't know if he's that. I don't think he is. Personally, I don't think he is that. Against a former two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world who just fought for the IBF heavyweight title. No. The narrative won't be spun with me. I said when this fight was made that AJ, in fact, I have kind of given Jake a bit more respect. I think when this fight was first announced, I said AJ knocks him out in 120 seconds.
True Geordie breaks down the mental side of the AJ versus Jake Paul fight, calling Jake the puppet master and highlighting the importance of mindset.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned. Until next.